Everybody likes to scream that our justice system's a joke. It's a revolving door that spits out offenders right back onto the streets within minutes of committing serious crimes. And listen, sometimes they're right. So what is the system doing to protect the victims? What are they required to do to protect the victims? I'm going to dive into it in this video. As somebody with a law enforcement background, I've seen it firsthand. I've worked with victim services and numerous other organizations whose job it is to protect victims or potential victims for many years. I've released individuals from police custody, but I was also occasionally tasked with advising or informing the victims that the accused was released or to be released and what the conditions are that were placed on the accused. So today, I'm going to give you the other side of the story. What really happens when somebody's released? And this is important because, listen, I'm very sympathetic to the fact that it seems like repeat offenders are running wild. People come down hard on the justice system. But again, there are thousands of employees and volunteers right across the entire country doing their best to keep families safe. And they're just as frustrated as everybody else. Believe me, some of the volunteers, they've been victims themselves, and they have firsthand experience navigating the system, and they want to make it better. Nothing but respect and love to them all. Listen, I'm very thankful for what you do. I'm going to be reading from my computer here every now and then, so please forgive me. Number 1, victim notification is required by law in many cases. When a serious or violent offender is released, whether on bail or patrol, victims have the right to be notified under Canadian law, including the Canadian Victims' Bill of Rights and provincial legislation. Police services and organizations like Victim Services ensure the victims are informed of bail hearings, conditions of the release, so no contact orders, area restrictions, and upcoming parole eligibility. So this gives the victims a chance to prepare, relocate, take precautions, whatever's needed. But let's face it, a lot of victims, they don't have the resources to be able to do that on their own. And sometimes this is happening in the middle of the night. You're packing up the kids. Depending on the crime or the seriousness of the offense, this could mean taking the kids out of school, temporarily moving, and not just moving to another family's house, another family member, or staying with your parents temporarily. They could be in danger as well. If the suspect knows where they live, they could come looking for you there. It could mean relocating to an unknown, secure location. And that brings me to number 2, safe housing and shelters for at-risk victims. In cases involving domestic violence, stalking, or threats, victims, often women and children, they may be moved to secure, undisclosed shelters. These shelters are often unmarked buildings with strict entry protocols. They offer 24/7 security and support services, and they may include psychological support, childcare, and legal assistance. Listen, I've been to these shelters, okay, as a police officer, and I'm just going to share a few things. Now, these shelters, they are undisclosed, and even from the outside looking in at the shelter, at the physical building I'm talking about, you wouldn't know that it's a shelter. Even myself, as a police officer, I wouldn't go in uniform. I was instructed not to go in uniform because it would raise suspicion as to why there's police officers going in and out. Often I was not allowed past the front door. So if I was interviewing somebody or bringing some, supplies, they wouldn't even let me pass the front door. Often it was just because I was a man as well. It didn't matter if I had partners. It wasn't just me going alone. These are detailed. I was detailed to be there as a police officer. But because there was so much trauma around men, even just me being a man, I wasn't allowed past the front doors, which is fine. But these shelters, they could be in neighborhoods, or they are in neighborhoods, and often you wouldn't even know that that is what the shelter is. It's locked down, and I think it's a very, very good thing. So police and victim services working together to ensure that high-risk individuals are protected before the accused is released. And listen, I tell stories with these videos. Victim services, I've called them hundreds, thousands of times as a police officer giving a referral. Whatever the situation is, there many times, depending on the call, police are required to notify victim services. And before a report can actually be submitted or it's signed off on, they want to know, was victim services notified and what was the outcome of that? It could be in the middle of the afternoon, it could be 2 or 3 in the morning, but there's always somebody there to answer the call. Language has never been a barrier. It doesn't matter. Listen, Toronto being the most multicultural city in the world, there's many, many different languages. And they were always able to find somebody who spoke the language no matter what time it was. Listen, they are an absolute lifesaver, victim services, 24 hours a day for police officers right across the entire country. So 3, Release conditions are often imposed to protect victims. Even if someone is granted bail, they're typically released with strict conditions, especially in targeted cases where everybody involved is fairly certain that the accused is going to run into the victim, or if they run into the victim, they're going to commit another offense. Even that coming out of my mouth, the fact that everybody knows if the suspect sees the victim, they're going to offend again. It's ridiculous. No contact with the victim or the family, no go zones, so they can't. The suspect can't enter specific areas or communities. Electronic monitoring, ankle bracelets, with high risk cases, and curfews and mandatory check-ins with police or bail supervisors. Okay, we know that. I made a video recently where I discuss how meaningless some of these conditions are, and I explain things like house arrest, where someone can be on house arrest yet be outside their home most of the day, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I'm going to link that video where I get into what these conditions are, or what they really mean, Check it out if you have time. If the accused breaches these conditions, they can be arrested and held without further release. Clearly, that doesn't happen as often as it should. Number 4, police and victim services monitor ongoing risk. Victim services don't just inform, they support. They conduct safety planning with the victim. They coordinate with shelters, legal aid, and child protection when necessary. Update victims if the offender reoffends or breaches bail. They offer emotional and logistical support for victims navigating court proceedings, which can be very, very difficult. Police may also conduct extra patrols or wellness checks if the threat level is high. Yes, absolutely. Number 5, not everybody gets bail. High-risk offenders can be held and should be held more often. Again, listen, we hear about violent offenders being released. However, listen, many high-risk individuals, they are denied bail and they don't get released. And thank God, especially in cases involving repeat violence, breaches of previous conditions, and threats to public or individual safety. When bail's denied, the offender stays in custody until trial. Usually, judges and prosecutors, they consider the safety of the victims and community, even if part of the process is less visible to the public. And that's another part of the story behind bail. A system trying to protect victims, even if it's not perfect. And listen, I would love your take on this. Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you have personal experience and you have ideas on areas of improvement, how this can be improved, please let me know in the comments. Let us all know in the comments. And also, before I leave, victim services, they're located right across the country, and they're constantly holding fundraisers and awareness campaigns. I mentioned before that a lot of this is done by volunteers, and they could use your assistance. Sometimes they fundraise through golf tournaments, golf games, dinners. Maybe there's something that you can get involved with, peer-to-peer support fundraising. And it's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about helping getting the word out. Search victim services online in your area and see how you can support or show your support. And thank you very much for watching this video. If you find this content helpful at all, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. And until the next time, stay sharp, stay safe, stay Canadian.